Ahsoka in this episode was really hard to watch again, but I want to be nice because it does look like they're trying. There is evidence in there that Lucasfilm are listening to criticism and trying to do some of the things that they were asked to do by their fans, and that's something. They may have effed up the implementation, but at least they tried. It starts off with Sabine Wren training, which is something a lot of people complained about with Rey, that she was instantly good at everything and never had to train, so it seems like they listened. They did the training, they just also sadly made it kind of boring, and dressed Sabine so she looks like a 13-year-old boy. She's not a bad looking woman. In some shots she looks very pretty. She's got a certain something, and it just goes to show you how much difference eye makeup, lighting and a hairbrush can make. She has beautiful hair. Well, she had beautiful hair. Beautiful feminine hair, and yeah, they cut it off. And the rainbow pixie cut's not doing her any favours. It's a quick start to Cosplay Corner this time, because it looks like they dressed her like Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, and it's wildly unflattering. From the look of her arms, I can only assume she's been on the same diet as Yennefer from The Witcher, and maybe similar to Yennefer, Margarita and Kira may have eaten Sabine's food as well. She's very slender. So with bare arms and hammer pants, it makes her arms look thinner than they already were. You'd think this would occur to Disney, but no. Disney's war against femininity continues apace, and you may ask, why don't I do this for the male cast members? And to that I say, what male cast members? They'd need some first. There's Ray Stevenson and there's the David Tennant droid, and that's about it. And I feel the need to say again, David Tennant was in Hamlet with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Playing Hamlet! Disney, you have access to an actor of that calibre, and this is what you do with him? So instead of getting angry about that for the third time, I'm going to start by talking about this piece of cosplay again, because I prefer that to talking about Ahsoka. It's from a previous review, and believe it or not, this young lady is supposed to be cosplaying as Darth Vader. Or that's what I thought from the pattern on her shirt. Crop top, whatever that tiny piece of fabric is, possibly a modified handkerchief, and no, I'm not complaining. Now, I showed this to a female friend before I made that video and asked her, why don't you dress like that? No, seriously, I didn't. But maybe I should. I asked her if she could guess who it was supposed to be, and she said, I don't know. Lara Croft? Now, at the time, I told her that I was pretty sure it was supposed to be Darth Vader because of the buttons on her top. And the more I looked at it, I'm not sure she was wrong. It's the gloves and the hair. I think maybe this could be a Darth Vader Lara Croft mashup. I didn't even know mashups were a thing in cosplay, but there you go. As an example, I have this picture of steampunk Vader and Leia. These folks are unusual. I always remember a cosplay convention at university and about 50 women came dressed as Link from The Legend of Zelda, much to the confusion of older members of the faculty. Ahsoka, this show gets worse the more you think about it, and I don't want to be too harsh. So one of the criticisms of the recent films was Rey being invincible or OP. So unlike Rey, Sabine is not invincible in this series. That's good. It builds up the bad guy, and Sabine can show some grit when she gets injured. Ah, Miss Ahsoka Tano, you appear to have left your Mandalorian set to unbearably smug. Let me fix that for you. So her not being invincible is good. They should have just maybe toned it down a bit. Have her take a cut to the leg or something. You haven't got to impale her vital organs with a sword the temperature of a sun. At least I think that's what happened. It's hard to tell because Ahsoka arriving, the bad guy getting away, and Sabine being taken to a hospital, that all happens off camera. And somehow Sabine survived it, and I got a message from a viewer saying about this show, the usage of Deus Ex Machina is really getting old. And yeah, it's kind of worse than a Deus Ex Machina, isn't it? It's a Deus Ex Machina that happens off camera, and it's a series of dramatic character building moments they didn't bother to show. You could have had Ahsoka worried that Sabine is injured, angry that she'd taken the sphere against orders and lost it, guilty that she brought her into this and put her in harm's way, and in 3 shots in the show, the wound on Sabine appears to be in 3 different places. In this shot, it appears that the blade has gone through her chest, maybe 4 centimetres below her breast, and when you see the wound later, it's now a round scar, maybe 20 centimetres below her breast. And in this shot, during the fight, it looks like it entered her stomach at an upward angle and was waved up and down, which wouldn't leave a round scar. A lot of people also wanted more aliens in Star Wars, and to make it less human-centred, and they did that too. I just wish they'd got their characters right, because Ahsoka seems kind of off, and Hera Syndulla sadly seems way off. And the worst part for me was in episode 1. Sabine had just run off with the sphere, and Ahsoka was talking to Hera about the difficulty of her relationship with her former pupil Sabine. And firstly, why did you do that clock wipe? So Hera says to Ahsoka with a big smile on her face,
"Mentoring someone is a challenge. I bet your master found you difficult at times."
And I can't believe she said that. I can't imagine Hera from Rebels ever saying something that callous. The writers seem to have forgotten the prequel films, because Hera knows who Ahsoka's mentor was. Ahsoka's mentor was Anakin Skywalker, the man who would become Darth Vader. This should be among the sorest of sore points for Ahsoka. He was one of her oldest and best friends, as well as her mentor, and her master turned to the dark side. He turned evil, nixed a load of kids, and tried to end Ahsoka multiple times while being the number 2 man in a tyrannical, genocidal, galaxy-wide, nasty government. This is not something you bring up while grinning at someone. He went forced ghost not so long ago. Do you get it? This is not a memory that's going to make Ahsoka smile. She lost faith in the Jedi Order and left, so she blames herself on some level for not preventing what Anakin did. She thinks maybe if she'd been there she could have stopped it. She thinks leaving may have contributed to what happened. She still loves her friend, but hated what he'd become. And all we get from Ahsoka is her blank-faced saying, "Anakin never got to finish my training. Before the end of the Clone Wars, I walked away from him." I guess he was kind of busy at the time.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
This should have been the time for Rosario Dawson to really break out the emotional range, blaming herself, some shame and guilt, anger at Anakin, loss or anger at the Jedi Order, anger at Palpatine. Ahsoka is a very emotive character, or she was, but Rosario Dawson is playing her like a plank of wood.
Anakin never got to finish my training. Before the end of the Clone Wars, I walked away from him.
What about the other Jedi spread across the galaxy?
Ahsoka was quite gregarious. She liked company, she liked people. She was filled with joy, hope, energy, and Rosario Dawson is playing her like she's been given horse tranquilizers. The training scene in episode 3 is maybe 5 minutes, but it felt far longer. And I'm genuinely confused about how much time is supposed to be passing in this show. They seem to have a lot of time in hyperspace, going to where the engine was being taken, but the engine was there almost instantly. Part of Sabine's combat training is called Zatoichi, which is a strange reference to a fictional Japanese swordsman. As to why, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they're referencing a Japanese character from 1948, I have no idea, I've got nothing. And all of this training is again very similar to scenes taken from A New Hope, just maybe not done as well. This is 5 minutes of a 30-minute show, and the 30 minutes includes the credits. That's over 1/6 of the total runtime of the show. Hera asks the Republic fleet if they're going to do anything about the looming return of Thrawn and send any ships to the mystery location, and they say, nah. The whole budget may have gone on highways to nowhere, and that makes no sense either, even if you don't believe Thrawn is alive. Mere days ago, 2 people boarded one of your warships, slaughtered the crew and took a dangerous former Imperial prisoner with them. This is not an imagined threat. The writers seem to have forgotten that part of their own show. Whatever happened to the ship? Did they blow it up? Leave it floating in space? Steal it? And the next scene feels borrowed from A New Hope as well. The Millennium Falcon being attacked by TIE fighters and Luke in the ball-mounted gun while Obi-Wan coaches him. Ahsoka and Sabine arrive in the system. The Imperial hyperdrive engine from Corelli was taken to, and they're attacked in space by fighters belonging to the bad guys. And at this point, half of the episode is gone, and very little has happened. This series is only 8 episodes long. I can only wonder how much they've spent on sets to maybe use them once, and then put them in a landfill. You'd think that maybe longer series would be more cost efficient because they can at least reuse sets, but at this pace and only 8 episodes, Ahsoka will be over before we ever really get to know the characters.
Jesus. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.